Welcome to Frog Live Radio, brought to you by that ingenious recruitment company, Frog Recruitment. And today we are in the world of social networking or social media. And when we talk about social networking, we have to mention LinkedIn. Established in 2003, the social media device has 80 million users. It's the world's largest professional network, and in other words, for those of you out of the loop, it's the biggest file of facts in the universe. And by the way, it's official. In late 2009, social media entirely has overtaken porn as the #1 activity on the web. But the clever recruitment outfits listening today will no doubt be grappling with trying to create a social media recruitment strategy. So I'm thrilled on behalf of Frog Recruitment to welcome Cliff Rosenberg, the Managing Director of LinkedIn Australia and New Zealand. Welcome, Cliff.
Many thanks, Mike. Pleasure to be on the show. Thank you.
Great. And today, Cliff, we've got the very broad topic, so you've got lots of avenues to tell us sage advice about social networking. The broad topic is why social media is an effective business tool. So to start with, Cliff, we always like to get an idea about the person we're talking to. So we always ask them, what's the first paid job they had, no matter how bad or how lowly it was? What was your first paid job, Cliff?
First paid job I had. Well, thanks for that one, Mike, as an opening. I think it would have to have been my very short stint at trying to be a security guard at the horse races in Cape Town in South Africa, where I went to university. And I very quickly discovered that I was not cut out for such a role in life.
How wonderful, how wonderful. You've come a long way since then, Cliff. So what we'd love to hear again is, how have you ended up in your present position? What's the quick road that's taken you there to being Managing Director of LinkedIn?
Mike, I think I'm probably a good example of the power of networking, but my road into LinkedIn was, believe it or not, via LinkedIn itself. The current chief marketing officer of LinkedIn is an ex-colleague of mine from Vodafone days, where I used to be the head of corporate strategy for Vodafone in Australia and New Zealand about 10 years ago. And Patrick Crane, who's the current chief marketing officer for LinkedIn, contacted me via LinkedIn probably a year and a half ago now. And he told me that the company was taking a very serious interest in Australia and New Zealand, and would I be interested? And one thing led to another, and here I am. So, indeed, the power of networking and the power of LinkedIn put together.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And so, let's get to the good question. How is LinkedIn going in Australia and New Zealand at the moment?
Mike, great question. We started up here about November last year. So, in fact, last weekend I was in America, and it was my 1-year anniversary. So we've been on the ground here a year now. We've built up a really great business out of Sydney for the time being. We've had amazing reception from both clients and members. Over the last year, we've shown double-digit growth on our membership side. And a range of really good clients coming on board, both on our advertising model and on the hiring solutions model.
Right. So just to step back a bit, can you give us it's a tough question, but a potted history of LinkedIn and how it started, and really what would you say would be a couple of the milestones that have really pushed into the stratosphere of being a communications vehicle globally?
Absolutely. So, company was founded around 2003 by a gentleman by the name of Reid Hoffman, who is a very well-known investor around Silicon Valley. He had come out of PayPal, and he saw a niche out there for professionals to network across the web. So he had a mission statement in 2003, which was to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. And to this day, that is still our mission statement. To show the growth rates of LinkedIn, because you talked about the size of our membership when you introduced the show, but it took us 477 days to add on the first 1 million members to our network, and the last 1 million members that we added on took about 9 days. So we're currently adding on about 1 new member every single second of every single day somewhere in the world. So grown at a phenomenal pace, and as I say, we're adding on about 1 million members every 10 days or so right now. In terms of size of LinkedIn worldwide, the 80 million probably represents about 20% of the world's professional population. We believe there to be around 500 million professionals worldwide. Australia and New Zealand, very good sample size of it. We represent over 1.5 million members across both Australia and New Zealand.
And so for Australia and New Zealand, at what point, so obviously that you've recently just become MD, you've very recently just got a business presence. What's the driving force? Is it because you arrived at 500,000 members, or what was the driving business case to open up an office in Australasia?
So the reason for an office in Sydney, number of reasons. I think we have a business model which I will describe, because when I describe the business model, you'll see how well Australia fits into the context of our model. But I think, just some anecdotal stats. Nielsen recently rated Australians and New Zealanders as some of the most socially connected people in the world. So very vibrant and active community on the web. Our business model, Mike, to answer that question properly, our business model is threefold. We have a business model in which members upgrade their accounts to premium subscriptions. That represents about a third of our global revenue. Another third comes from online or display advertising, where premium brands promote their brands to our very affluent audience on the LinkedIn network. So the membership of LinkedIn represents a population of professionals in which the average household income is over $100,000 a year. So obviously extremely affluent and something that premium brands would want to promote towards. And then the other third is our hiring solutions model, which is obviously a lot of interest to people on this call, being recruiters. So we have a recruitment model which recruiters in agencies and small businesses, in large businesses, use to go after active and passive candidates. And that's obviously a very vibrant model for us as well. So we looked at the dynamics of the Australian New Zealand market. We saw a very active online population. We saw a very active recruitment sector. We saw a very vibrant display advertising sector, and it ticked all the boxes for us to open up an office over here.
Right. So is it right to, because assume I know not a lot about this, but is it right to assume that the recruitment industry is one of the biggest users of LinkedIn as a business model?
Absolutely it is. And the reason being is there's a definite trend away from job boards towards going after what we would call the passive candidates that exist across the LinkedIn network. I think a lot of recruiters have relied on job boards previously where they know there's a very active population of job seekers going to look for jobs. However, in the world we live in which, there's a war for talent, as we all know, and sometimes the very best employees are not going to job boards to look for their next job. They're very comfortable in their present role. They might very well be highly successful, potentially are successful, and they might not be in the job market. So those candidates have profiles on LinkedIn and are open to job opportunities, to career opportunities, and LinkedIn is the way that sophisticated recruiters and headhunters are accessing this passive pool of talent. In terms of percentages, our estimates are that at any one point in time, maybe 20% of the professional workforce may be going to job boards and in the job market, but really it's the other 80% that is of interest.
So can you tell us a wee bit about how recruiters use it? Have you got any anecdotes or case studies or just very basic, assume I'm a recruiter who has thought, I must get into this LinkedIn thing. What would be either a story or your business case to say you're a fool if you don't?
Well, I think I would really stress the importance of this passive candidate pool. I think, we often refer to putting ads up on job boards as a bit of a post and pray type philosophy, in that you put a job ad up on a job board or even in print, and you're really hoping that someone reads the ad. But it's very difficult to target those ads effectively, and obviously one has no idea who's actually going to be reading the ads or looking for a job in any one point in time. What LinkedIn does, it kind of turns the model on its head in that it gives recruiters the ability to tap into this massive database that we have worldwide of talent that's sitting out there who, as I said earlier, may not necessarily be looking for a job, but available and open to a career opportunity. So recruiters can tap into this via our hiring solutions. The way it works, Mike, is they would buy a license seat, which is an annual license seat, and it gives a recruiter a far more sophisticated platform to do this through than you or I or other professionals would use on a personal basis. So the license solution has a very sophisticated CRM backend. It allows recruiters within a company to collaborate on job searches. It allows recruiters, for example, to send direct messages to anyone on the LinkedIn network anywhere in the world. So as you can see, far more sophistication within it and really customized towards the needs of recruiters.
Right. Now, can I ask you a bit of a tough question? In researching this interview today, I read a couple of days ago there were some privacy concerns, and it was to do with, I think, an IT recruitment specialist who moved recruitment jobs, and they've got a non-compete agreement, but the same person obviously has taken his or her LinkedIn contacts with them and their network. Is there privacy concerns, do you think, or concerns to do with this type of recruiters that move around because it's such a powerful vehicle you've got? Can you just comment on that?
Absolutely, Mike. Great question. So, Mike, I mean, obviously privacy and security is of major importance to us. We give all our members the ability to control all their settings. There is no one can put any data or information on anyone's homepage without the permission of a member. And we've really designed the platform to work in that manner. So from a recruitment point of view, the license solution is very much deals with the issue you've just raised, in that all the intellectual property remains with the company rather than the recruiter in question. So the company is buying the license seats, not the person. And should a recruiter resign from a company, they will literally log off, move on to another company. A new recruiter will sit in their seat and carry on using the platform. And that deals with a lot of the issues you raised.
Sorry to interrupt. That's for your special product, your recruitment product.
Correct. As opposed to you or I just being professional members using it and building up our network. Correct.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now let's move on. The good stuff is obviously branding, marketing, advertising. What would your advice be for a very simple strategy for a business using LinkedIn to assist their branding, marketing, and advertising?
Okay,
especially smaller businesses.
Look, we cater for both small and large businesses. We have a online platform whereby businesses can go in and use a self-fulfill model and buy ads on the LinkedIn network, and they can target them very precisely to the kinds of members that they want to put their ads in front of. We also have a field sales team based out of our Sydney office for the time being, but obviously we're growing and expanding that team. And they deal a lot with the ad agencies, chief marketing officers, etc., brands like Lexus, Optus, a lot of the big universities, for example, and they can buy very tailored and customized solutions for display advertising across our network as well.
So advertising is going to be a big chunk of is that the growth area? Obviously, recruitment products you're talking about. Is advertising being seen on LinkedIn as a paid ad? Do you see that as a big piece of your future business?
Mike, as I said earlier, we've got these three revenue models. They're each very prominent for us, and they each represent about a third of our revenue. Personally, I think the recruitment side of things has massive potential, and we're seeing a very big take-up on that front. But likewise, advertising for us, very vibrant as well. So pretty tough to choose between them.
Yeah, right. So who would be your biggest competitor? Would it be Facebook?
I think when you start talking about who our competitors might be, my answer to that would be I don't think we have a clear competitor. I think first of all, one needs to differentiate between social networking and professional networking. So the Facebooks of the world that you just mentioned, I think very much fit into a social network paradigm. And that's where people would communicate and interact with predominantly friends and family. It's where you would go to talk about your holidays, post pictures of kids' birthday parties, etc., etc. And then you get professional networks, the likes of LinkedIn. And that's where people go to build their professional brands and enhance their career opportunities. Very, very different. So I think when you talk about who's out there on the competitive front, my gut feel is we're reaching a scale and a size right now of over 80 million members worldwide where we don't really have any clear competitors in the professional networking space. So, if I said to members on this call or yourself, I said, think of online search. Who do you think of? Or in all likelihood, someone's going to shout out the name Google. If I said online auctions, good chance someone's going to shout out the name eBay. But if I shouted out, connecting talent with opportunities on the web, good chance someone out there is going to be shouting out LinkedIn. And I think big companies like the LinkedIns, the Googles, the eBays are starting to take a dominant position in their sectors on the internet.
Okay, so just to get to the nuts and bolts of it, Cliff, for a small recruitment company based in New Zealand, let's say they've got 5 or 6 members working for them, what are some of the tips and common mistakes? First of all, tips to set up their LinkedIn strategy and how to back it into their overall business vision, but also tips or traps to look out for, I should say, pitfalls that a lot of newbies to LinkedIn either commit or don't realize what they can do, just tips and traps.
Okay, tips and traps. I think we need to think about that both from the personal, professional brand point of view and then also from a company point of view. So first thing I would say is from a personal point of view, the importance of having a complete profile that's up to date. We speak to a lot of people when I go and look at their profiles. They've started filling it in and they're maybe 50% of the way, but they haven't fully completed it with things like education, et cetera, The more complete your profile, the better you're going to appear in Google search results. So I think the importance of having a full and complete profile, we give members the ability to have one photograph on their profile. I think to have a photo out there is advantageous and one that represents you in the best possible professional light that you would like to be seen in. And certainly not a picture of you at your kid's birthday party wearing a funny hat. That's just not the network. That's not the right network for those kind of photographs. And then I would say from a company point of view, we've just recently launched something called company pages. And I'd say for any company out there, whether large or small, we have well over 1 million company pages already on LinkedIn. And it's important to note that members on LinkedIn and people going to the LinkedIn network aren't just searching for people, they're also searching for company names. So to build up your company profile on LinkedIn via our company pages where you can post career opportunities, there's a tab there where you can talk about the profile of the company, the history of the company, promote career opportunities in the company. It's another tab where you can promote your products and services. You can have recommendations put in there from customers and members who've had a good experience with the company. So something like that I think is growing in importance and definitely something to take advantage of.
So it's sounding like a great branding opportunity online. Is there any good advice or anecdotes you've got from how to convert from having great branding on LinkedIn to actually converting to sales?
Yeah, Mark. I think offline practices are important. So I think the power of networking. It's one thing to set up a great profile and to have a great brand presence on LinkedIn and indeed other websites out there. But I think at the end of the day, you still have to have great interpersonal skills to connect well with potential candidates out there in the community and to have a proper discussion and interface with them in order to attract them to the right opportunity. So I think we can equip candidates and recruiters with all the tools on what to do to build up their brand and how to connect. But at the end of the day, one still has to reach out and make the right connections. And again, it's all about the quality of your connections, not about the quantity of your connections. So as a recruiter, it's not just about going out there to build up thousands and thousands of connections. It's about building up the right connections for you in the industry in which you work.
Right, that's great. And just in closing, in the near future, any exciting news you'd like to tell us about from LinkedIn Australasia, or is it, as you said, you're here on a growth path, and social media is going to be a big future? What do you think it's going to play? Have you got any trends there you'd like to tell us about?
Mike, I think if we've got 2 or 3 minutes left, I think